Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Tuesday. That means it's time for the Wrestling Inc. NXT after show. And have we got a show for you? British Strong Style got back together. The breakout tournament kicked off, and we have a new North American champion. But before we get into all of that, let me introduce the crew. I'm Jack Farmer, being joined by NYC Demon Diva Issa. After a couple of hours live streaming, you and the crew rolling through. How you doing?
I got some of my demonites over in the chat. We always try to raid and bring you my people over here. So we're excited to talk about NXT.
This was quite the episode, and we're definitely going to talk a lot of the stuff about this episode, and of course, next week's episode is kind of a story already. But
I'm
before we get
excited
in,
for that.
before we talk about that, of course, I want to make sure everyone who's with us now, like, comment, share, subscribe, send this over to all your friends on social media, have them join in the chat. I might shout out a few more people in the chat today, or bring up any some additional questions and things like that. So if you guys have questions, concerns, things like that, throw them into the chat, and we might get to them whether or not it's a super chat. We might just maybe mix it
Wow.
up a little bit. Feeling
Wow.
generous today, Issa.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the news. Of course, we talked about a new North American champion today, but there were plans for someone else to be the North American champion. Mustafa Ali was actually supposed to be the person who won the North American championship at No Mercy. Obviously, things didn't go that way when he got let go. Issa, this is another one of those giant what ifs in pro wrestling that we'll never have answered.
It's not, because they were probably gonna do the same thing they just did with Trick Williams. So this wasn't about who was gonna win the championship. It was about building this entire storyline with the Judgment Day and what's going on with them, and Rhea giving Dom the ultimatum. I would have been a bit more curious and a bit more if Trick would have had a different, like, you know what I mean. But I feel like this was gonna be the result. The player, insert random player here, to lose to Dominic on Saturday just to build this up.
So do you think we would have seen Ali versus the Judgment Day?
I think Ali would have lost the title tonight if he would have stayed, like Trick Williams
Yeah.
did.
Interesting. It does kind of give us a little bit of insight into just how abrupt these releases may be at times, because of course they were clearly still planning on him to be the champion once that release happened, because he still had a match lined up and they had to kind of pretend that it wasn't happening with the new booking.
Right. Right. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see where this goes now. But after I saw the result, and we'll get into tonight's NXT later on, but after I saw the result tonight, I was like, they were probably gonna do that to Ali as well. It was gonna be like a 3-day reign, and then it's about the Judgment Day right now. And I don't blame them. You can't blame them for it being about the Judgment Day. Judgment Day is doing amazing, but man, there was a part of me that was so excited for Trick Williams. So I'm sure we'll get into it as we go on.
Yeah.
But after seeing what happened tonight, my brain tells me that we're gonna do the exact same thing with Ali.
So I was at No Mercy, and it was an absolutely fun show. I mentioned it yesterday on the Raw after show, but since this is an NXT show, I just want to say my takeaways were that Trick Williams is absolutely special. Carmelo Hayes, I say, is transcendent, and Tiffany Stratton deserves to be in there with the best of the best. I thought all
Yeah.
three of
Oh
them
my
did
gosh, it
incredible
was so
things.
good. Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to watch the whole thing, but with the clips of what I seen are enough for me to understand that that was one of the best, and if not the best, NXT PLE so far this year.
It was
I had
very
a
good.
feeling it was gonna be that good. To me and Glenn were mad hyped after we finished the show on Tuesday, because we knew it was gonna be that good.
It was absolutely so loud in that arena. And I want to say to people, again, I can't speak for every show, but I went back and watched a little bit of the live stream or the stream from No Mercy to compare audience volume. And Dom's heat is real. I'll
Oh
tell you,
yeah.
like, it is not audio tricks. In fact, I could hear the ring announcements better on TV than I could in person. I think it was
I'm
louder in
tired. I'm
person.
tired of this conspiracy theory that the audio's being messed with for Dominic. It's like, if you haven't been to a show in person, then you're the one speculating on social media. If you go to a show in person, you know that the heat on Dominic is real, and it is cool to boo him right now, and that is what the people are doing.
I mean, it makes sense because that's what you do when Dom comes out. You boo. It's like part of the. It's like saying "whoa" when Cody comes out. Like that's what you do. And so very loud, but it was a great show. Someone who wasn't at NXT and may never be at NXT is Jade Cargill. Apparently,
Oof.
there are already rumors that she is going to be at Fastlane, Raw, and or SmackDown. So clearly, they want Jade Cargill to be on one of the main brands right away. They want to plug her right into the top of things here. Issa, thoughts on Jade Cargill sort of getting the fast track?
The way that they signed her and the way that they announced it, I assumed she was main roster bound. I was like, they're making a really big deal out of this for it to be an NXT signing. Do I think she could be used on NXT? I mean, NXT is really booming right now. Tonight's show felt like a women's show. Honestly, we have so many women's segments, and we don't have that on the main roster. There's more women's wrestling, and there's more storylines happening in NXT right now than there is on the main roster. Jay Cargill signing of Jay Cargill got treated like she is a superstar. I think Jay Cargill looks like a superstar. I think they have had to have taken a look at the buzz that caused all over social media. Everybody was talking about it. She was trending for hours. Why wouldn't you want to capitalize on that? All I hope is that they have a long-term booking plan with her, and that we do what maybe could not been done with Jay Cargill before, because she has it, and the it cannot be found, but it's gonna be. There's some people in WWE that can go in the ring, and that might be her weakness, right? What she's oozing in star power, she might not have there. We don't know. We don't know what training she's doing. We don't know who she's working with right now. We don't know. We didn't see her that often in AEW. I do think her last match with Chris Statlander was her best. I love that match.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the star factor can dim quickly if you put her in the wrong field with people that are going to expose maybe the strengths that she don't have. So I just hope that we're just like really highlighting the strengths and hiding all the weaknesses, because that's what you need to do with a star like Jay Cargill.
Yeah, I think she's someone who's such a big star. I think it's a good idea that she skips NXT because she's such a big star. Unless she's across the ring from a Rhea Ripley, a Raquel Rodriguez, Charlotte Flair, it's going to feel like she's beating up people who aren't on her level. You know,
Yeah.
she needs it. She has to be in the ring with people like
But that's
that.
what we had. Like that is my number one critique with her booking in AEW, is that she was beating a bunch of people that we didn't know. She always looks superior. We barely saw her stand toe to toe with somebody that you would go like, oh crap, like Jay Cargill just met her maker. You know what I mean? And in WWE, there's so many of those. Like you automatically fantasy book so many feuds for her, because there are women that look her maybe even bigger than her. So I'm excited. I still think the star factor is gonna come out, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, if this is really gonna put her star power to the test when she's standing across the room for people that is oozing it just as much as she is, and can go in the ring because they have more experience than she does.
It'll be very fun to watch. I'm very excited to see where it goes. I
Yeah.
see a lot of people in the chat saying she's going to Raw. I say Raw or SmackDown because you always hear reports, especially with like what brand people are on. Like, I feel like it's always kind of fluid. You never really know where they're going. I mean, we saw Indy today. She was a Raw wrestler also, but
I
look
mean,
what,
Asuka,
yeah,
we'll get into it, but
well,
Asuka's
yeah.
gonna be in NXT next week. I feel like everybody's all over the place right now.
Well, let's talk about that before we get into the show. We'll go through it in the show, but I want to bring up this super chat. Maya Lee saying, "OMG, poop." Next week is going to be like Jimmy would say, banana. Carmelo, Braun mixing it up with the Bloodline and Cena. I smell NXT being
And
part of
Asuka,
Survivor Series. Yeah, Issa, we'll talk about a lot of these things that happened individually, but next week, NXT is just really throwing everything at us. John
yeah,
Cena,
but you know
like,
why? This is like petty city in the United States of America. Like, as soon as I was watching the Wrestle Dream press conference and I heard Tony Khan say next Tuesday's title Tuesday, I was like, oh, they're gonna compete. Like, that stayed in the back of my head the entire time. I'm like, oh, they're gonna compete. my God, did this get? I'm here for it. Why don't we let people know who else gonna be there? Because everybody was announced tonight.
I mean, it was next week is going to be John Cena is officially announced. Paul Heyman is officially announced. Asuka is officially announced. And now I am assuming we're also probably going to have Becky Lynch.
They announced
Probably
Cody
going to have
Rhodes,
Cody
Jack.
Rhodes. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
and Judgment Day.
I forgot.
Dominic is,
I forgot
yeah,
Cody Rhodes. That's how many
I know.
people are in here.
Yeah,
Cody
and you know
Rhodes, Dom,
Dominic is the North
Judgment Day.
American champion, so you're gonna have some Judgment Day mixture in there. Becky is the NXT Women's Champion. Like this show is going to be insane, and they're gonna massacre AEW. But hear me out, Jack. Doesn't it make you wonder why didn't you do this before when they were competing head to head on Wednesdays? Because they could have done this before. The one time that NXT beat AEW was when they brought Sasha down to have a match over there. They know they had this, it's like having these cards to play with and you're not using them, waiting for the next hand when you could have been using them for a long time. Is this big over the Adam Copeland signing? Like, is this a direct response to the hit that they just took at Wrestle Dream? I don't know. It feels petty, and I love it, Jack.
I love it too. I think it's fantastic. I even said on Twitter that if this is all just to beat AEW in the ratings, I love it because when wrestling companies compete with each other, the fans win. I want AEW to pull out this. I don't know what they're going to do, but I hope they say, let's add some more things. Let's bring in.
I was going to say that.
I
said that on my stream. I'm like, they're playing chess. We'll see what AEW comes out with tomorrow and announces for next Tuesday, because Tony Khan already did say that it's Title Tuesday. However, we know there's like 1 trillion titles in AEW, so he could just put titles that nobody cares about to get defended on Tuesday and just call it a loss. Right? Or is he going to get petty? Are we going to get an MJF match on AEW? Are we going to get FTR and the Young Bucks on AEW? Like, this could really be a day of us having both devices on, watching both teams, because the shows are both that good.
I mean, it makes me wonder who has the most to lose if AEW. Now, typically, Dynamite gets better ratings than NXT, but it's a new day.
They never do well when they go on Tuesdays. They never do well.
It's a different day, so that's going to hurt. Every wrestling show that has ever gone to a new day, their ratings suffer. But also NXT is stacking the deck. I mean, but if AEW loses the ratings, even though it's a different day, there is a little bit of that. You guys always called them the developmental brand, always kind of made fun of them a little bit. Now they're beating you in the ratings. But on the other hand, if you're WWE and you throw John Cena, Cody Rhodes, all these stars on the show and you don't win the ratings, what does that say? This is kind of a high stakes week.
But if NXT is a developmental brand and they beat them in the ratings with main roster stars, does it really count? I'm just saying.
I mean, that will be the argument that is on Twitter for the rest of our lives.
Figure out what my dog is trying to get into, but I'm listening. Hold on.
I mean, I think your dog is going to be at NXT next week based on the way things
Oh my God,
going.
you should have seen. I was doing a live stream and people in the chat were going crazy. They were like, "Oh my God, Beyonce's going to sing the national anthem to open NXT next week." Like, we're coming up with the craziest scenarios of other things that we're going to try to do.
Man, I think I just can't wait. I hope AEW pulls out all the stops. I don't care which one wins the ratings. I mean, I will be curious just because it's interesting, but I don't care which one wins the ratings. I just hope AEW also pulls out the big guns just to see.
I think the ratings
we
is
can
such
do.
an outdated thing, but yet we are all still so fascinated with it. You know what I mean? Like, I still look every week, whether I talk about it, whether it's here on my streams or not. Half of the time I don't mention it, but I still always check and see how they did, how things are going. But I just find that I don't know, there's so many ways to consume this content nowadays that Nielsen isn't just the only way that you should be looking at things.
Yeah, that's why I don't really take it too much into account, because it is so out of date right now. I don't think there's just any other way you can track it, because streaming services don't release numbers, and so
correct. And it's like, and you have illegal websites, and you have this, and you have that. Like, there's all kinds of way to consume these things, or you have DVR. Like, I think Collision is such a DVR show. I wish I could see the DVR numbers for Collision, because I think a lot of people, before they get ready for their football Sunday, sit down with their coffee and watch Collision.
I think I've seen maybe 2 episodes of Collision live. The rest I've seen recorded. And it's just because I'm busy. It's not because I don't like Collision. It's actually a good show. It's just not a good time.
It's a great show.
So let's get into this week's episode. Before we do, as always, I want to say thank you to everyone who's watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, share the link in social media, and share it with all your friends. We got a 5-star review, Issa, you and I.
Did we now?
We did. We got one from Sincere2627 on Apple Podcasts saying, I enjoy the fact Issa and Jack Farmer joke and have good chemistry. Issa is a joy. I have enjoyed Jack since he was on the Ringer Wrestling podcast. I like that they have a good time and care. Keep up, guys. And it looks like a little lion emoji. Lion emoji. I can't tell if it's an Ewok or a lion.
I love that for us. Look how far we've come, Jack Farmer.
Good times. Yeah, thank you so much. And if you want your review read on the air, all you got to do is go to Apple, leave a 5-star review, and say something positive. If you put something negative in there, I'm not going to read it.
More specifically about Jack and I, please.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for people who watch the Raw after show, I started talking about this and I realized, oh, wait, it looks like I'm just talking about myself because it didn't mention the other two. And so that I felt bad. I had to backtrack halfway through putting it over. So, but we got Stalking You in the chat. Good to see you with little dog emoji. MDB999. We got Blue Chew. We got Max Feldman. Baby Ice advocating for the evil bad guys. J.R. Smith, Ricky Zaldivar, Stanley. I haven't seen you before, Stanley. Thanks for popping in and saying you enjoy the show. Christopher Stykeleather. I think he's one of the Demonites because I always seem to see Christopher when you're on, Issa. Bernie DC. We got Pronounce Paul. Wow, we got a lot of Bolivar, and I don't even know how to pronounce this name, but from
we're international Bhutan? Now, Farmer. We're international.
Man. Mike Martin in the chat. Yeah, we got a bunch of internet. Thanks so much for the international crew showing up. You are a draw, Issa. You bring in the international folks.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I love it.
Where I bring in my mom, she watches the show to support me. So you bring in everyone else. I'll make sure my mom watches the show. My mom, who has no idea what we're talking about because she does not watch wrestling. She's just like, I like seeing my son on the screen.
He's so handsome.
And she won't know I said this because she probably has the volume down while she does something else.
Yeah, they're just giving you the view. They're just giving you the view. I know exactly what you mean. My dad tunes into every one of my streams. We even have a special emote for him. I do the majority of my streams in English. He doesn't watch wrestling, but he always just shows up with his greeting, and I'm like, bless his heart. Bless his freaking heart. You know what I mean? What are you going to do? They support us. It's a good thing to still have their love and support. You get older, you're an adult, you think they're going to stop cheering you on, but they never do.
Yeah, I love it. I appreciate you, Mom. We'll see if you even heard me say that, but probably not. So let's chat about this episode of NXT. There was a lot of stuff, but it was all good stuff, I thought. We start. Becky Lynch comes out and says she can't compete tonight, and neither can Tiffany Stratton because they beat the heck out of each other at No Mercy. Becky says that she's looking to have a challenger at Halloween Havoc. Then we get Valkyria coming out saying that she's looked up to her since she was a kid. We've got Indy Hartwell returns and says she never lost the title. She wants a shot. And then Roxanne Perez says, hey, I want a shot too. So Becky Lynch says, why don't we get a triple threat with the winner getting a shot at Halloween Havoc? Issa, obviously there is a match that comes after this, but for an opening segment, I mean, this is what I want to see. Let's set the table.
Yeah, let's set the table. Let's show off this women's division that NXT has going on. This was like a quarter of the talent they have back there, and everybody that came out is good. You're rooting for them. That's something that I really appreciate about the NXT women's division. Before that, shout out to Becky and Tiffany Stratton. I am waiting to have the time to sit down and be able to consume that match because from the clips and what I've seen, is everything that you wanted it to be and more. Becky got that nasty cut. We saw Tiffany Stratton was doing some crazy things. So I was very happy to hear Becky opening the show, putting Tiffany Stratton over in the way that only Becky can. We beat the hell out of each other. Tiffany gave me her best because I was like, every once in a while, you got to put kayfabe aside and just recognize it, and whether you keep it in character in a promo, recognize. I thought Tiffany was incredible, even in defeat. This was like her coming out party. I love seeing everybody talk about her because we've been high on Tiffany's this in Wrestling Inc. for a while now. And yeah, in the interrupting, the first thing that comes to your mind is like she never lost the title, and it's good to see that she's clear and that she's back. Roxanne Perez is somebody else that had a questionable title reign because she kind of had to like relinquish it, but then she was back like 2 weeks later. That whole thing was weird. And then I love what Lyra Valkyria had to say to Becky and the inspiration that Becky was. That gets you in the feels, you know, Jack. So I was excited. I thought either one of these women winning this match tonight, I would want to see her face Becky. So I'm happy no matter what happens.
What I've loved about Valkyria as well, and we'll talk about the match later, is that she has been quietly like building up the number one contender resume. So often in wrestling, it feels like there's the person you can just tell is going to be the next to get a shot because they just start getting all these big wins, and then they get a title shot. Where Valkyria's kind of like, she's been doing stuff, she's been getting wins, and kind of under the radar, like rubbing shoulders with Becky Lynch and with Rhea Ripley. Yeah, and kind of like subconsciously telling us she's a big deal. But now, like, oh, you know what? She should be in the ring with Becky Lynch.
Correct. Yeah, I'm with you on that. She's slowly growing in the resume, and people that weren't familiar with her, I know you were a UK fan, but a lot of people were not. They're just recognizing her on her own here in NXT, and it's great to see her. And Rhea put on a banger. Rhea really also put her over. Then she's rubbing shoulders with Becky Lynch. Now she might get this match, you know, so she will get this match actually. So you know, it's awesome. It's awesome to see that kind of thing happen for her, but for her to have that story of, hey, I saw you, an Irish woman. I'm very big on representation, on seeing people that come where you come from, or there's certain things that only a certain group of people can understand. So I just love that story, and I think regardless of how the match is gonna go, it's gonna be a highly emotional moment. You could even see how nervous she was to be cutting a promo on her idol Becky Lynch, and she cracked a couple of times, but it was in such an organic, legitimate way. Like, you're standing there cutting a promo on your freaking idol. Like, how do you keep it together? You know, like, it was awesome, and I'm excited for her.
Yeah, it's you take it for granted when you see that happen with wrestlers too.
I know.
It's a different show, but I was thinking about AEW and Nick Wayne being 18 years old and in a main event in his hometown in a packed arena with Edge and Christian and Sting all in the ring with him. People who were legends when he was born. And
the crazy thing is that even Edge said that he's never been in the ring with Sting, and it hits you. Like, even some of these people that are older, that have been in the industry forever, are still standing across from people they looked up to, and that has never been like a thing that we've seen before. Like, it's wrestling. I love wrestling, man. It's insane, but I love it so much.
It's the absolute best form of entertainment. I love it. And what I love about it too is that we have arguments on here all the time. What I love about wrestling is you can argue about it and like, it doesn't matter. Like,
doesn't matter.
You could be like, this person's the best. No, this person's the best. At the end of the day,
it's like there's something for everybody. You know what I mean? And you can like the flippity, and you can like the hardcore, and you can like big meaty men slapping me. You can that's the one thing that I tell people. I'm like, there's something for everyone, and when you manage to put that together in a car, I think NXT does that very well, where there's just a little something for everyone in their shows weekly. I think AEW does it as well. Maybe sometimes it doesn't pace right, but I do think you tune into an episode of Dynamite, there's something for everyone. Comedy, slapping meat, technical wrestling, flipping around, like there's something for everyone. And that's why the whole show might not work for everyone, because not everything is for you, but you will find that one segment that you will enjoy.
I would say it's like Saturday Night Live. You're not supposed to like every skit, but you might like some.
You'll laugh. You'll laugh here and there. Correct.
We got a few.
Unless Steven Seagal is hosting it, then it's just downhill.
Then everybody loses.
I'm sorry, he's the worst. I think in my list, he's the worst SNL host of all time.
I never would have guessed when we started the show that Steven Seagal was going to catch some strays from.
But yeah, if you go down a rabbit hole and start looking up worst SNL hosts, I guarantee you he's on everybody else's list too. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Man, so we got a bunch of comments here. I wanted to highlight one and I lost it because it refreshed. But Oh, J.R. Smith asking the question. I want your thoughts. He says, will they have the Wheel of Misfortune on Halloween Havoc?
They always have it. So I hope it comes back this year as well.
It's one of those things that, like, if you're new to wrestling and it's the first time you saw it, you might be like, this is kind of corny or weird. But as a fan who's watched for a long time, that's what I love about it, is it feels so like pro wrestling. I don't know. It's like, it's great.
Yeah.
I just get into it. So
there's just certain things that you just can't take away. You know what I mean? There's just certain things that you just can't take away. That's one of them. That's like if you come to Puerto Rico and you go to a wrestling show and there's not a hardcore match on the card. That is just not how we do it. We are the birthplace of hardcore wrestling. So you're not gonna go to a show and not see blood and glass everywhere. But that's just what you get. You know, there's certain things that you just can't take away, and that wheel cannot go anywhere.
Yeah, it's I'm a big fan of it, especially because I'm an old school. I love WCW back in the day, but
I posted a picture today. Sorry, but I had to bring this on because I just said it. But I posted a picture and I'm just like doing my interviewing job, and next to me are these two huge guys all bloody. And my mom is like, "How am I supposed to explain your job to your family?" And I'm like, "Don't make something up."
I honestly, like, you get it. Very few people get it. Maybe people in the chat, I'm sure you guys will understand. Like, explaining our job, like, I hate. It's the worst thing whenever I'm like at a party. So it's like, so what do you do? And I'm like, oh God, can I?
I was telling my stream to them, I was like, I'm gonna make up an occupation just to say that again. I'm a nurse. It's boring stuff.
Yeah, I just make something up. It's so hard because people try to be nice. They try to talk to you about it, and you can tell they don't get it, but they're like trying to talk.
My mom was watching the pay-per-view this weekend on Fight TV, and I got shush off the screen, and she's texting me just cursing this guy out, and I'm like, Mom, it's a bit. He's a cool guy, Mom. Like, it's just crazy to try to explain to people what we cover and what we do, but it's the best gig in the world.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, it's a blast. And we move on, and we get you mentioned I was a fan of NXT UK. This is quite the throwback. British Strong Style, Butch and Tyler Bate teaming up to take on Gallus. British Strong Style gets the win, but Gallus uses the numbers game to team up and beat Gallus boys. Ridge Holland shows up, I should say, even in the numbers, and Gallus boys are sent packing. Issa, do you like the idea of Tyler Bate teaming up with Butch? Would you like to see them make a run maybe at the NXT tag titles?
100% yes. Tyler Bate does not need knee pad. There's no hiding those legs. He needs to be bare. We need to see all the beauty of them. Yeah. I would love to see them have a run at the tag team. The tag team division feels very stale right now. Yeah. So reunited them and adding a little, NXT UK spice to them. They were great. They're so great together. Tonight it showed again. I'm here for it, and this match was good. It was good, but it was. I mean, I like Gallus. Don't get me wrong. There's just something about them that doesn't click with me. I see them wrestle and I'm like, man, these guys are great. But what is their gimmick? They're strong and they like to drink beer. So do I. Like, you know what I mean? Oh, and they're very good at pool. I can't play pool. But, like, there's got to be a little something. We got to do something with them because they have not developed. Like, their character has not changed or grown since they've been in NXT. So we do need to add something to the tag team division. I do think that Butch, and which I call him Pete Dunne every time I see him with Tyler Bate. Like, I love the name Butch, but when they're together, no, that's Pete Dunne, okay?
I've gotten so used to calling him Butch now, it's hard for me to go back. It's like the Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, into Bryan Danielson again.
Oh, he has 5 names in my channel.
But one, when it comes to the knee pads, I just got to say, I feel like Tyler Bates' legs are so muscular that, like, nothing's gonna happen with those knees. They're staying right where they need to be.
Custom made ones.
I do agree with you on Gallus though. Like, I love Gallus. They were kind of in NXT. They were sort of almost similar to Tony D, where they were kind of like they were criminals from the docks though, kind of guys. But they're too. But I was gonna say it's too similar to Tony D now, and Tony D's too popular, so you can't really do that with them now. So they need something different. But yeah, I think they're trying to figure out what they are. Because for me, I always say, can I describe this person to a non-wrestling fan in 1 or 2 sentences and have them understand who they are? And I don't know if I could do that with Gallus anymore.
I told you, big strong boys that like to drink beer and play pool, and people will be like, "Okay, what makes them special?" Oh, they can
Yeah,
wrestle. Can they ever? Can they? Oh, yeah.
right.
Especially the tag team division in NXT.
So I definitely, I'm big fans of theirs. I definitely
I
think they
know.
need something that like makes them stand out or different, that makes them not just seem like, oh, they're Gallus. That's what they are.
Yeah, come on, Gallus. But they should. There's not a lot of essence there to them right now, and they're so talented, but it's not clicking for me right now. But it was cool to see Tyler Bate and Butch back together.
That's a name, by the way, a couple names that we forgot in talking about next week. They didn't announce it, but it wouldn't shock me if we saw both Butch and Ridge Holland next week on NXT as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so that'll be fun. I'm sure we'll get the 6-person tag next week. That'll be fun. Hopefully Gallus wins that one, because I got to be honest, they didn't look good today. They took the loss in the match and they got chased off afterwards, which is kind of like a double L in this case.
Yeah.
All they're missing is the Cool J.
Man, they need to go back to the bar, have a couple of beers, and refigure it out. They got this.
With Briggs and Jensen just drinking beers. A lot of
And
beer
that's
drinking.
the division for me. I mean, I love the D'Angelos. They're like on my top 3 in NXT right now. But ever since Pretty Deadly went, there's just been a void. There's been a void in the NXT tag team division.
Yeah, I mean, Pretty Deadly are superstars.
They're irreplaceable.
They really are. They are so good. They're a team that I think will be both those guys could main event Mania. They're so great. They're so entertaining.
I love that. That's the star factor that we were talking about with like Jay Cargill. I did not watch a lot of NXT UK, and I'll never forget the first time those two faces came across my screen on NXT. Have no idea who they are, but immediately I'm like, who are these guys? How do I follow them? I need to find out more about them. And it took 5 seconds of their charisma on the screen for it to click.
They, for a tag team that's not actual brothers or anything, they work together so well as far as their talking. Like, they finish each other's sentences and go back and forth and just like know how to act with each other, and it just goes so smoothly. They're incredible.
The recovery of Elton Strong. We're with you, buddy.
Side plate check, my favorite. So we got another NXT UK standout, Ilya Dragunov. Comes out doing a victory lap after his win at No Mercy, but then the champ shows up, the other champ, Trick Williams. Both guys congratulate each other when Carmelo Hayes comes out and is a little bit bothered by what he's seen.
He was salty, he was.
Which is fair. I mean,
no, it's not. When he was champion, he was like showing Trick Williams, I got other things to worry about. Not Trick Williams can have his celebration moment with Dragunov.
No, I mean, no. That's why. No. So Carmelo Hayes, though. But I like how Dragunov is kind of like, this is your deal. I'm heading out. I'm leaving. I'm not getting involved in this. But then Dom comes out and
the booze.
The booze come out, and Trick has his Mama say, Mama say. It's like he's doing his little rhymes and stuff, and it was just fantastic. They're gonna have a match later on tonight in our main event. This to me, Issa, was just NXT has just I say an embarrassment of riches. They have so many stars.
Not only do they have so many stars, they have so many people that deserve to be holding these titles right now. That I don't know if you're going through this, Jack, but like you feel super excited for Dragunov to see with the title, and then Melo comes out and you feel like crap because he's no longer the champion. He deserves to be the champion, and you're like, I'm just Switzerland, okay? Because both of these guys deserve. Same with Dom, right? But like, it was a very cool moment to see Trick Williams and Dragunov there. And I told you that. And the end of the show got me questioning where we're going with this, but it felt like a whole new era of NXT. Okay, we're moving on. This class is graduating. We have new faces. To see the two of them out there just kind of like having a moment. It was cool. They had their rivalry and they're like, let's just put that aside and celebrate our accomplishment this Saturday. It was a cool moment for them to have. But this tension, this weird tension, non-tension between Melo and Trick has been there for a while. So I'm glad we're continuing that storyline. We'll get into Braun Breaker. What Braun Breaker said to Melo, I was like, oh man, that's some good stuff. That's some good, poking the bear right there. But yeah, I love this segment. I love seeing Dom. This was all well done to set up the main event.
What I loved about I love how Trick is just so effortlessly charismatic. And what I love about this situation with Carmelo and Trick is that it feels natural and real.
Yeah.
It's not like they were best friends, then one day one of them turns and is now hates the other one. It's like a slow, like this is how friendships do break apart. It's not like one day, it's like a slow progression that happens.
But I don't know what it was for me. I always saw them apart. I thought that they were one would like dim the other. Like there's something up because some people can be great together, but with the two of them, I was like, I kind of need them apart. I don't know why I always felt that way. I was like, I feel like Melo is so good and Trick is so good that Melo is outshining Trick when Trick should be just as big of a star as Melo is. And we're getting there. Look at the reactions that he's getting. We saw him on Monday Night Raw, you know. I will say though, I'll deduct a couple of things from Dominic because when he said, "Oh, you take all these orders from mommy," he definitely should have said, "You're taking them from Melo." At least I'd rather take them from Rhea freaking Ripley than Melo. You know what I mean? Like that would have been an epic comeback. But he might have gotten cheered for that. I don't know.
I mean, that's one of the things with promos. I think people like you got to put people over in promos too. I think
Right.
Dom was like, we got to put Trick over. I can't have a comeback here. I got to.
Right, but it would have been so funny because tell me, Jack, if you got to take orders from someone, would you rather take them from Melo or Rhea Ripley? Come on.
If he said that, I would have popped off the couch and
I
done
know.
like, oh! It'd be like that that GIF, that meme.
It was such a miss.
I'd have been the guy going, oh!
yeah, because I'm like a lot of times people give Dom all this crap, and I'm like, what is Dom gonna say? Like, do you guys really blame me? Like, let's like I love how Jey Uso sweet talking Rhea Ripley right now. But he's like, can we blame Dom for being whooped? No, we can't. We'll be in the same position if we had the opportunity. Everybody needs to relax.
Right. Exactly. We move on and we get to the triple threat match: Lyra Valkyria versus Indy Hartwell versus Roxanne Perez. Story here is Perez had it won when she hit the Pop Rocks, but Kiana James gets involved and stops her. Becky Lynch lays out Kiana James, but Valkyria uses the distraction to get the win. But Tegan Nox is looking on. Now, I'm a little torn here because Issa, this is a situation where I liked everything that happened. Don't get me wrong. But this was something I feel like if Jimmy was on, might use his bag of potatoes analogy.
2010 is what we call it for short. But yeah, I agree with you. There was a lot going on here. I like that they're just saying, hey, the Tegan Nox match is still happening. You don't want to undermine or count Tegan Nox as an automatic loss. So her coming out and having the stare down and saying, you don't know who you're facing to Lyra. I thought that was interesting. We know who she's facing. But the match was incredible. I thought all these women had a moment to shine. I really liked the chemistry. I thought Roxanne had it there for a second. My favorite thing about this, if you look at the replay, is when they're counting the 1, 2, 3, Becky's on her feet, cheering up Lyra. Like that was her pick to win. And you always just love seeing that. Like I love that Becky's a fighting champ. She knows what she was doing coming to NXT. She knew everybody was going to want a shot at her, and she's ready. So overall, yeah, they had great chemistry. Kiana James keeps getting involved in things that don't make a lot of sense, but they keep utilizing her. So they're thinking very highly of her right now because every week she's involved in something.
Dylan 13, and Dylan, I apologize if I'm saying the name wrong, asked, didn't Indy get called up in the draft?
She did.
Absolutely did. But I think this was a smart move. I think they realized, look, we're not using her on the main roster. She's talented. She has a reason to be here. Let's use her. It doesn't matter
though. We're using Asuka next week, and Asuka was just a SmackDown Women's Champion. You know what I mean? Like I think the appearances in NXT don't count. Like when you break the draft and you have people from SmackDown show up on Raw if they don't have titles or this and that, that's when it feels like, what do we do this for? But NXT, I see it like as a third brand. It's different. It's not the same. So and her going for a title that she didn't lose is also good continuation, which they barely ever do.
It's, we use the word developmental, and I think some people think of it as like a dirty word, but I always think of it more as like, we're going to figure out something so that the main roster, SmackDown Raw, can plug you in and do something with you right away. And if you're not doing something right now in the main roster, go to NXT and get something that you can plug in with. And I think that it's a good thing.
Really is developmental, and it's felt that way. I know everybody like crapped all over the 2.0 era, but there was a period of time where NXT was bringing very established stars, and it did feel like a third brand in a complete different way. I love seeing these people grow. I love seeing characters that I remember thinking 3 months ago, like, what is this? And now they're like my favorite things, right? Like, I love seeing them progress promo wise. Like, you're seeing, and then you fall in love with them, and then you have to break up because they take them to the main roster, and you got to start again with a whole new class of people, but I am having so much fun with NXT now. And I love that 2014, 15, 16 NXT where we knew all of these people and they were putting on bangers and filling out arenas. But so are these people. You know what I mean? But I like seeing them grow. Names that we never heard before. Like WWE is really doing an incredible job at having homegrown talent. And that's not something that a lot of people can say in wrestling. People are making themselves in the indies, in other companies. Then they come. Now WWE is building their all-stars from the ground up.
It's really, I think it's incredible. I think it's great. And look, I know a lot of us love the black and gold brand, and I did too. I thought there was some amazing stuff there, but I feel like what they're doing right now is, and they're doing it with people, like some of them have been wrestling fans their whole life, don't get me wrong, but they're also doing it with people who haven't been. And it's just insane what they've been able to accomplish with some of these people. And people should be applauding it, because the more people that learn how to make superstars like this, the more they're going to be able to get out into the other companies, and not just AEW, but also like indie companies, and help spread that knowledge and make everybody better. This is incredible.
It is. It is. And a lot of people sleep on NXT. I always say that.
Yeah, it's NXT, I would say, is really one of the most consistently good shows, like wrestling shows every week. It's just, not everything's going to be for you, but if you can just say, this part's not for me, this part is, you're going to have a great time.
And I saw a lot of people across social media that don't watch every Tuesday that watch No Mercy, and they were like, oh, holy crap. Yeah, some of us have been telling you guys that you're sleeping on NXT.
Yeah, because even the people who are like, oh, but I like really good, I like the wrestling, I like the collar and elbow, they got that too. They're doing that really well, actually. We got a little, you alluded to it earlier, but I want to talk about this little moment here where Braun Breaker says that he's the only person that really knows how Carmelo feels right now. And he thinks he should take out his anger on everyone, including that selfish Trick Williams.
That's where he messed it up for me. That's where he messed up for me.
I loved it. That was my favorite part.
You would.
I could just imagine him in like one of those cheap devil costumes, like sitting on Carmelo's shoulder. Like there's a little angel on one shoulder and a little devil on the other. I could see Braun Breaker.
The angel has the goatee, and then the devil is the bearded Braun Breaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The angel is Trick, and the devil is Braun. And Braun's like, you got to go destroy him. He's the worst. And he's like,
get right in the feelings.
It's like, I loved it.
The angel is like, you love that No Mercy too. And the devil's like, shut up.
Spears him. Bro,
I want to see that now.
Yeah.
Listen, well, first of all, it was really funny because we had the in-ring celebration of Dragunov and Trick, and this felt like the losers backstage because we know Braun Breaker rightfully lost to Baron Corbin. I'm a big Baron Corbin fan. That is the one match that I was like trying to watch backstage as I was doing my gig, and I'm like trying to watch Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. But when he at first I'm like, why are you calling him out for losing? You lost at the pay-per-view too. You know what I mean? Like that's the last thing you should be doing. But when he got to the point of what, he wasn't calling him out for losing. He was like telling him, I'm like, it sucks when they stop chanting your name and they automatically flip. He might as well cut the wrestling fans are fickle promo that Daniel Bryan did a few years ago, because he was so on point. And I'm like, I'm over here feeling guilty because of what I told you. I'm like, shut up. We're allowed to like Dragunov too. He's really good too, you know?
Right.
But yeah, this was A+ stuff from Braun Breaker, and he finally, because he turns heel, he's doing his best work as a heel, but we never really got an explanation of where all this rage came from and why he's just spearing everybody for no reason. We got that explanation tonight. He was taking out his anger on everybody, and I'm like, poof, it finally makes sense why we have this unhinged Braun Breaker for the last few months.
I agree. Yeah, I love it because it explained Braun. And what he was saying, though clearly not the way you should handle the situation. You're kind of like,
1000% is how you should handle it.
But yeah, well, exactly. You do kind of feel like, yeah, you should be angry. You should take it. Like there is that part of you. Like we joked about the devil and the angel on the shoulder, but that kind of is what it is. Like you know, you shouldn't just get over it and come back and be better next time. You should be upset. You should get revenge. You should.
But it makes sense why he doesn't want to go for the title again, because it's like, what? So they can just flip sides again and again. Like it was very great character work from Braun Breaker here, and they just tie so many loose ends with him here. Like I really enjoyed this segment. I know it was small, and some people might overlook it, but there was a lot of growth and explanation of Braun Breaker's part, and he planted a very good seed on Melo.
Yes, very, very fun, very cool segment. And it was followed by another one that I know you loved, was Baron Corbin and Ilya Dragunov backstage. Corbin reminds Dragunov that he's the only one to beat him this year, not named Carmelo Hayes. And then says to Dragunov, get all the photos you can, because you're not going to have very long. Issa, I want to ask you.
Do you think Greg got some photos? I'm sorry.
I hope so. That's a good point. They never put the new side plates on Trick's on Trick. But I want to ask you this. If you could go back in time when 2.0 first started, it was pretty obvious Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker were going to be the face of the company. Now it looks like the next two are going to be Baron Corbin and Ilya Dragunov. Would you have predicted those two names as the two that were going to be taken up after Carmelo Hayes is done being champion?
Dragunov would have been in my possibilities. After seeing his match with Gunther and NXT UK, kind of like dissembling that, like your thoughts will be bring him. He's a freaking star. You know what I mean? Not Baron Corbin, not for $1 million. Like if somebody tells you we knew, I would. Baron Corbin is honorary Puerto Rican. In case you didn't know this, Jack, I made him honorary Puerto Rican. So in this household, we stand Baron Corbin, and I would love to see him go against Dragunov. It makes sense. You know, he beat Braun Breaker at the pay-per-view. I like how he's just sticking his nose in everybody's business and you don't know what's next for him. But Baron Corbin is the kind of talent that you can just insert into any storyline that you have going and he'll make it make sense.
And he delivers to their match delivered too. He delivers in the ring as well. So
big
fan
meaty
of Baron
man
Corbin.
slapping meat. I'm a big fan of Baron Corbin as well. You know what else I'm a big fan of? The End of Days, one of the greatest finishers there is.
It really is. Like the fact that it looks so hard to do, but he makes it look so easy. Like hold someone and like.
But he's a big guy. The problem is, like, I mean, he looks it that way, but when you see him in person, it's when you go like, holy crap, like this guy is huge, you know? So it will make sense for him to be able to handle these people easily. But sometimes you've seen him hitting some like really big people, and then there's stupid Drew McIntyre who kicked out of it. I'll never forgive him for that.
Yeah, no one clued in Drew McIntyre. He's not supposed to kick out of that. Someone should have told him. I think he just forgot. But
he's gonna say sorry, and then he's forgiven because according to him last night, that's all you need to do.
But this is a rivalry I can't wait to see, because Baron Corbin. I think Baron Corbin is like the perfect rival for a Dragunov who's like intense, just wants to fight. Corbin's going to be sneaky. He's going to make him jump through hoops. He's going to do all this stuff.
I love seeing Dragunov face off against opponents that are like much larger than him, because he just brings like a different side of him. We saw him with Trick Williams. We saw him with Gunther. We probably are going to see it here too. Same.
Yeah. And I think I can't wait to see Baron Corbin's reaction when Dragunov starts really laying into him, because you know Corbin's not just going to.
I thought you were going to say when Dragunov kicks out at the end of the day. I was like, Jack.
Well.
Don't you put that evil on me, Jack Farmer.
That'll be all of us. We'll be like, no, but like, because Corbin, I think when Dragunov really starts like chopping him and hitting him hard, I think Corbin's gonna facially sell like, what the heck did I just get myself into?
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be a beautiful moment. A moment that's a little. I want to get your thoughts on Blair Davenport versus Gigi Dolan. It's a match that's been building up for a while, and with multiple backstage attacks and chairs brought in. Blair's about to use it. Ref stops it. Gigi then uses the moment to roll up Blair Davenport to get the win. Post-match, Davenport chokes the referee and yells at Gigi. Issa, this is tough for me because I'm a fan of both these two, Blair Davenport, I get. She's someone who thinks she should be the champion and always resorts to attacking people backstage, has a bit of an anger issue. Gigi Dolan, I feel like was so popular
I'm
for a
so
while.
confused. I don't know who she is or what she's up to. Like, I don't understand her
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, talk to me about it because I know she's a star. I feel like she's a star, but it's just not something.
It's
There's a
not
disconnect.
clicking. We were talking about Gallus. It's the same way here. She's good in the ring. You look forward to seeing her. Her matches are okay. They're there. They happen. But something is not clicking with her right now. This match, I feel like it happened. And we had so much build up for it. And then it just felt like nothing to the. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like a big deal, like a feud that needed to come down to this. Not even with the attack in the middle of the entrance. Like, nothing here was for me like outside of wow, another women's segment, another women's match. I always praise NXT for that. It kind of just felt like it was just there. Something didn't click with this entire feud. Hopefully they move on from it because both of these women are talented and popular and over. You just gotta put them in the right storylines.
Yeah, I think with Gigi, she was so as the toxic attraction mean girl. I think she was so popular because I don't need to believe that everything I see is real, but I
Right.
should believe that it could be. And I don't believe that what Gigi Dolan is doing right now is how she really is. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
I'm not buying into it. I think maybe that's the disconnect for me, but yeah, I think that it's something's missing for me here. I like both of them. I just think I want to see something different between them here. Someone who has also been kind of going through a lot of different things. Kiana James says that she is hell-bent on proving she's better than Roxanne Perez. And if Perez wants a match with Kiana, she needs to get through Asuka next
How did she
week.
get Asuka? Is Asuka doing business now with people? Is she like what is this? Did she pay her? I'm so confused.
I mean, Kiana James is an international businesswoman with a Rolodex filled with some of the biggest names out there. So it doesn't surprise me that she was able to make this happen. I don't know. Adam Pearce, I think, was just working overtime and making things happen.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm excited to see Roxanne Perez versus Asuka, but the connection with Asuka and Kiana James,
Yeah.
weird. Out of nowhere. Just say, hey, AEW. Why didn't Kiana just tell McKinsey, listen, AEW is on Tuesday next week, so I'm gonna bring Asuka to face Roxanne for reasons.
That's the I actually I would it'd be interesting if they said that. Like it is front, hey, we're trying to be AEW in the ratings. Why don't you tune in next week? But Kiana James is one of those people that I like her. I like her character. Now I think she just needs to sort of get into a rivalry that can sort of connect. I think she's sort of just waiting. We talked about how deep the roster is. Now she's sort of just waiting for her chance to take off, to use the launch pad, is Kiana James. And to that point, this end of the show, sneakily, I'm noticing here, I think the entire second half pretty much had all women's matches. I mean, it was, but that's the beauty of
it was like
NXT.
a women's show on NXT tonight, and you love to see it.
I mean, I was going to say, that's one of the beautiful things about it is it really was, but it didn't feel like it felt like a normal episode of NXT. It didn't feel like, oh, there's a lot of women on the show.
NXT
It's
does
just
always feature the women's in the show. Like, this isn't a rare occasion for NXT. You know what I mean? This happens all the time to the point that you don't notice it. But I did think there was a lot of women's segments, backstage interviews, like a lot of women's wrestling on NXT tonight, and you just love to see it.
It was good stuff. And in fact, we had the start of the women's breakout tournament. Kaylani Jordan faced Izzy Dane. Jordan, I think, is one of the favorites to possibly win the whole thing. Izzy Dane did get some offense in, but I felt like this was Kaylani Jordan's match to show that she's a favorite. Do you think Jordan's going to win the whole thing, or who's your pick? Like, how do you feel about breakout tournaments?
I completely forgot that Roxanne won the one. I thought it was Tiffany Stratton, if I'm being honest with you. So I haven't made my pick yet. I there's a lot of women in here that I like. There's a lot of women that I'm not familiar with. So we'll see where it goes. But yeah, this match we already knew who was gonna win this one.
Yeah, it was it was a good one. I think, if I'm looking, I feel like to me, I feel like Kaylani Jordan, Lola Vice, um, uh, Jakara
Jakara Jackson. I like her a lot.
Jackson, I think have got to be the three that are the favorites to win the
Right.
whole thing.
I would agree.
So it'll be interesting to see how. I think the way it lines up, Kaylani Jordan versus Lola Vice is probably how it's going to round out.
Possibly. Possibly.
Because then it gets us a nice heel versus face dynamic in the end. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm terrible at booking, by the way. So anyone who's never heard me book before, just know that I'm terrible at it and I'm always wrong. So don't buy into what I say too much. Let me know. That'll be our question for the day. Let me know in the chat and let me know in the comments if you're watching this later. Who is your pick to win? Actually, not who's your pick to win. Who do you want to win the breakout tournament? I feel like one is more interesting. Like
because
who are you a fan
can
of?
like I always say that. Sometimes I tell people, I'm like, who I'm rooting for is not necessarily my pick, especially when you're watching the product every week and a little bit more, or they're pushing a certain person, so you go, well, this person's definitely winning, but I'm kind of rooting for
yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah, we got a lot of Kaylani Jordans in the chat and Lola Vice.
Lola Vice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Finn Balor knows Issa's a good booker.
Yeah, he told me. I have it on tape.
Well, as MDB 999 says, all Jack's booking ends with Akira Tozawa winning. So
literally,
somehow we'll figure out how Akira Tozawa is going to win the women's breakout tournament.
Listen, a man was the very first women's Money in the Bank, so anything is possible.
So that I love the breakout tournament. I love tournaments and things like that. They're always fun to me, so I'm enjoying it. Speaking of Lola Vice, though, we got JC Jane and Thea Hale versus Elektra Lopez and Lola Vice. A match that got set up on social media, and Chase U wants to support Thea Hale from ringside, and JC Jane surprisingly okay with it. For being mean girls, people seem to love JC Jane and Thea Hale, though, and they got the win here. What's going on?
I'm catching that vibe too, and it makes me wonder if that's why they allow Chase U at ringside. If they're gonna go in some kind of like a weird direction where they kind of maybe bring them back to face, because people do love them and they love seeing Tia growing up. You know what I mean? Like, this story's not going the way they thought it would. So we'll see what they do. But I did like, my takeaway from this is them allowing Chase U at ringside and all of this. We'll see where it goes. Maybe JC Jane wants to be accepted, and maybe she's using Tia Hale to like create herself a little family that she never had. Like, you don't know where this could go, but it could end up very wholesomely, and everybody can keep cheering the people they want to cheer.
It's one of the things that WWE has gotten very good about over the past few years is not being so abrupt with things. I think if this was like 4 years ago, Thea Hale and JC Jane would have like attacked Chase U and been rivals with them right off the bat. Where now they're
everything with Chase U has been a slow burn, and I love it. Like, they have let Chase U become a thing organically. It took their time. They didn't try to shove it down our throats. Like, it's been great.
Yeah, it's I'm surprisingly interested in this, and I'm kind of surprisingly happy that they're not just breaking things off with Chase U and that there's still something there. I know something wrong is going to happen. I wonder if JC Jane may try to, rub shoulders with Duke Hudson or something, and maybe. I
don't know. I still feel like maybe JC Jane wants to be accepted. We'll see.
What that would actually be kind of a sweet little story if really she just wanted to be accepted and go to a good school.
She took Tia Hale away from Chase U because she hated how they accepted her, and now that she's seen that even though she completely tried to change her, they still want her around. She's like, man, I wish I had family like that. This could really be a wholesome ending, or it could be a mess. We'll see.
Well, it's wrestling, so it's probably going to be a mess. But
or both. There's some wholesome messes in wrestling that we all love.
That is true. I mean, Indy and Dexter just got married, and it was all happy, good stuff. Yeah,
he's a serial killer, basically, and we were all rooting on for this woman to marry him.
We were cheering for a sweet, innocent person to marry an axe murderer.
Yeah, and we were all like, and then they had the honeymoon, like, he's showing the protection, and we're all like, yay!
Yay! It is kind of creepy how we were all like, "Yay, good for you! This
It
is
is.
great."
It's awesome. Like only in wrestling we root for the weirdest things, man.
Yeah, we are weird. But I wanted to give a shout out to Rave Card Break saying really cool to see all the attention Seattle got this week. DeFi. Come back, Jack. Yeah, so Defy Wrestling. I said it like the chant. Defy. Defy Wrestling is a very cool wrestling promotion out in Seattle, and I've gotten to work with them a couple times. I hope to get to come back soon. But they had a lot of wrestlers represented on AEW this past week. So.
I love how a lot of the big matches had a hometown person and you could feel the vibe. The crowd was so behind Swerve. You could see the moment where Hangman like realizes like, yep, I'm gonna have to work heel. You know what I mean? Like he hit him, like he's like, there's nothing I'm gonna be able to do to not get these people over on my side. Brian, of course, we know what reaction Brian was gonna get. Like it was awesome to see that. I think Seattle is a very underrated wrestling city. I think there's a handful of cities that we don't talk about that are really good. The shows go there. The energy is great. They have good representation in the ring. Like a lot of people are from there. I thought Wrestle Dream. I mean, I can nitpick it. I think the matches were a little too long. And I think there was a few matches in there that didn't need to be in the card and it didn't need to be an almost 5-hour pay-per-view. But outside of that, I thought it was a fun show.
Yeah, it's definitely I love the show, but I love AEW, but leave the audience wanting more, guys. It's okay.
Yeah, they just put too many matches on the card and like you feel bad for like, for example, Aussie Open and FTR. The spot that you put them on, we were over it. We were all over it. We all just wanted to see Adam Copeland show up at that point because the show had been so long. I also think it took away from Darby and Christian Cage. They did a great job, don't get me wrong, but it came to the point where I'm like, can we just get to the part where he shows up? Like, it's not on the performers, it's the shows are too long. And when you look at the card, there really is a handful of matches that you could have taken out and have a perfectly fine 3 to 4 hour pay-per-view that people would have not just gotten that fatigue.
And have banger Dynamite, Collision, Rampage main events in those places instead. But
they might not want to put them on Tuesday because...
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, we'll see what they bring out for Tuesday. But Carmelo Hayes, this is where you knew things were getting real next week. Carmelo Hayes says he talked to somebody about what Braun said, and Braun said if you get knocked down 15 times, you got to get up a 16th time. And that was John Cena who's going to be in his corner. We talked about it a bit at the top. Clearly, NXT pulling out all the stops for next week. What was your reaction when you found out that John Cena was going to be on NXT next week?
Okay.
Nah. Who?
Who is that guy? I think it's awesome, for John Cena to be there for the first time. I think it's gonna. It feels like a big deal. You know what I mean? I'll give it that. It feels like a big deal, but listen, if I tell you my real reaction, I'll get all the hate comments. Because we all know how great he's been with the young generation. He did wonders for Austin Theory when he worked with him. So.
Oh, I see. Okay. But I will.
Jack is like, damn it, it's a valid point.
This is where, as the host, I get to just say, moving on. But to me, it was like John Cena all these years never been on NXT, and now he's going to be on NXT. And I think that this is a lot about.
He's barely been here since NXT has been a thing. Come on.
Yeah, but I mean,
he had that 2015 run with the United States Championship. After that, the appearances became less and less and less, and that's when NXT was more of a thing. So have we really gotten a chance to get him on the John Cena, and NXT train? No, right now they're just like, oh God, the strike's gonna end soon. Let's get him everywhere.
That's actually probably true. JJ wants to know. You got questions. So are Braun, Mello, and Tiffy locks for the next call-ups to the main roster?
I would assume so.
I would assume so too, but I thought that during the draft, so I don't know anymore. We'll have to see. I mean, I feel like they're all ready.
I can see Rumble appearances for them. I don't know anything before that. I think Tiffany's guaranteed to make an appearance at the Rumble. I mean, we already seen her work in the house show circles. We've seen her show up in Raw, but right now wrestling is in that weird standby point where we're not really working to build any, like, is this a slow time? You know what I mean? This is the slow time, and in January we'll see. So I think we'll see them hang out in NXT for a little bit longer. But if you tell me the 3 names that I will call up next, those are actually it. I think they're ready.
Yeah, I think for them it's really just waiting for them to find a spot to hop into the main roster so they don't get like Alba Fire and and I'm blanking on her name right now. The witchcraft one, Isla Dawn. Because like they got called up. Witchcraft. God. Come on.
Witches deserve love too, Jack. Just like axe murderers.
It's just like axe murderers, witchcraft. It's all good. We get the main event, Dom and all of Judgment Day versus Trick.
Man, as soon as they came out, did you already know what was gonna happen? Did you say, "Oh no, Trick"? As soon as you saw Judgment Day show up.
What I loved about it, though, Issa, is that not only you felt that way, you got the star power, you got the great match, but also it furthers the story of Trick needing someone there to help him. Because if Mello was out there, things may have gone differently.
No, they wouldn't have. It would have been Mello against freaking 3. It would have gone the same way.
Mello don't miss, though.
He missed Saturday.
Well, you know, the exception. There's a few exceptions.
Oh, Jack, I love you.
But it does. I think it does kind of make him go, I can't just say I don't need anybody because Dom had people, and that.
Man, I saw the Judgment Day come out, and I felt so defeated for Trick. I was like, really, they're gonna do this? And it's like funny because I'm the biggest Judgment Day advocate. I have been since day one. I love Judgment Day. But I told you, it's that we're on Switzerland thing. I love seeing Trick with the title. I love the reactions that Trick was getting. So I was in that weird spot where I'm like, this all feels wrong, but it's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with Dom as the North American champion. But it just makes you wonder, why do it? Why put the title on this kid for 3 days? Like,
well, now you know what's going to happen next week is Braun's going to bump into to Trick and be like, I'm the only guy that knows how you feel. And you need
take your anger out on everyone, including Mello. You know, I ended up at the drunk tank one time. Just like Dominic Mysterio. I went to jail for like 8 hours. And that's exactly what I did. I was bored at the bar, so I instigated a fight. I went to one girl and told her this girl said this about her. Then I went to the other and said, until they started fighting. Then they called the cops, Jack, and then they snitched on me. They said, well, she said that she was saying, and I'm like, so they took me to the drunk tank, and I was incarcerated for 8 hours until I sobered up, and then they told me to get out of there.
You should get one of those tear tattoos.
Me and Dominic, best friends, just on the streets, like just on streets basis, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, real recognizes real, you know? That's what I learned, you know, on the streets of Tacoma. So we've got... the end of the show, it's crazy to me. They say Cody Rhodes is going to be here. John Cena is going to be here. Asuka's going to be here.
Cody. Oh, yeah. Do you say Cody?
Yeah,
keep
Cody.
On forgetting him.
What
is Cody going to be there? Why is he doesn't go here. Who asked for him? Nobody asked for him.
Why was it when Paul Heyman of all these names shows up, that was the time I really stood, was like, oh.
Because you thought it was going to be Roman. Because you thought it was going to be Roman. Roman doesn't get down to that level. Roman is that's for Cody Rhodes, not for Roman Reigns. But he's sending Paul Heyman.
Is Braun Breaker, who's going to have Paul Heyman in his corner, is he destined to be a Paul Heyman guy?
Possibly. I can see Jimmy and Solo showing up too.
I mean, this to me, I think just makes everyone seem like bigger stars too. Like this doesn't, I get that this is probably to pop ratings. I get it. I'm not naive to that, but
this is this is the pettiest of moves. And again, I love it.
At the same time though, it does make Carmelo and Braun feel like a big deal that John Cena and Paul Heyman are getting involved in their kerfuffle.
What advice do you think John Cena has for Melo? And why is Cody coming?
Never give up. Hustle. He's going to say loyalty
respect.
and respect. So, look, I think Carmelo Hayes is going to hit Braun with loyalty. He's going to hit him with a whole lot of respect. And if that doesn't work, he's not going to give up.
That's it. We're done for the night.
That is where we're gonna sign off. Everyone in the chat, let me know what you thought of the show. Remember, like, comment, share, subscribe in the comments, and once you watch this later, let me know who you're most excited about seeing next week on NXT. Which one popped you the most? Issa, what did you think of the show, and where can the world find you online?
I thought it was a fun show. I always enjoy NXT. If you love women's wrestling, definitely suggest you watch this episode because it was a lot of it. And they definitely hyped up next week. I'm excited for it. Not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. It was there. I mean, you didn't see a title change hands, and I'm still confused by that. Love the storytelling with Braun Breaker and that segment that he had with Melo. And people can find me here on Wrestling Inc. on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'm also on Lucha Libre Online. You guys can find me on my own YouTube where I live stream and watch these shows with you guys. We really do have a good time over there. Just trying to take over the world, Jack.
Yeah. Staying busy, that's definitely the way to do it. And you can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. I thought this was a really fun episode. I'd give it an 8, but I'm always nicer, I think, in these kind of things. I think it was a perfect post PLE show, and it really set the stage for what the next few weeks are going to look like. And you set up what should be the highest rated NXT of all time next week. So we'll see how it all plays out. I'm excited. Follow me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. If you're in the LA area, I will be doing ring announcing for PCW Ultra.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah,
I love them. Please tell them that NYC Demon Diva says hello.
If I say that and then they beat me up, I'm gonna never.
They're not gonna beat you up. We just had Jacob. We just had Jacob Fatu over here. He's
one
wrestling.
Of those Issa people, huh? You a demonite?
No, isn't he wrestling at that show, Jacob Fatu?
One of the 20
don't know. Something.
It might be the
Anyways,
20,
he was just over here.
Yeah, this one is just for the local. It's not going to be one of their.
No. He's wrestling ones. That other one.
Yeah, so it's going to be at the Rose Bowl before the Washington State University of California football game. So you can come by, you can tailgate, watch some wrestling, tailgate some more, then go watch a football game. It should be a really fun time. Again, if you're in the Los Angeles area, check that out. And until then, make sure to follow at Wrestling Inc. for all your wrestling news. And we'll see you tomorrow for the AEW